South Africa, welcome back to Almost News with Chester Missing. Steinhoff, the only investment worse than an SABC TV license. In fact, Steinhoff shares are just like a TV license. If you have one, people will laugh at you. Steinhoff was once the star of the stock exchange. In fact, it lost over 200 billion rands in value in 48 hours. 200 billion rands. It's like their share price did the Idibala challenge. A little known fact, the Idibala challenge was actually invented by Robert Mugabe. That there is Robert Mugabe doing the Steinhoff. Now, I know some of you are not very good with numbers.
769, 800 and 700. Listen properly.
200 billion rand is worth like 1,000 Lesotho's. It's worth 5 gigs of Vodacom data. It's like 87 Kanye Wests or 200 DJ Zaboos.
Roughly, if I had to think about all of that, I'd definitely say my brand is not worth less than $1 billion.
You're a DJ, dude. You're a freaking DJ. You press play for a living. Even Julius Malema and Kenny Koneni are part-time DJs. Before the crash, most of us had never ever heard of Steinhoff. I mean, it sounds like a type of white wine. Riesling, Chardonnay, Steinhoff. The fact is, all of us have shopped at Steinhoff. It's the mother of all holding companies. I mean, Incredible Connection, Hi-Fi Corp, Techie Town, Ackermans, Shoe City, Hertz, John Craig, Pep Stores, Russell's, Bradlow's. Seriously? If you've ever bought cheap furniture or clothing, you've bought something from these guys.
Monday to Saturday, sale every day. With discount prices, the Ackermans way. Crashing and bedding. It's my store. Formal suits and casual suits. It's my store.
Ads from the 80s. It's like they had an uncle in the apartheid denial business. They even own Joshua Dore. He even looks like F.W. de Klerk. By all appearances, Steinhoff was a massively successful company. If you stretch your hand in your house, you'll touch something from Steinhoff. If your granny is paying off a plastic-covered couch that she bought years ago, that couch is Steinhoff. That room divider that ironically pulls your room together, Steinhoff. At the time of their fall, they had 12,000 shops in 33 countries and 130,000 employees. 50,000 in South Africa alone. It's like they employed the whole of Kimberley. So their share price collapse is the biggest crime since this couch. Damn, that couch is the Gwede Mantashe of couches. When you sit on that couch, it goes... So where did it all go wrong? The first thing you need to know is that Steinhoff was led by Christo Wiese and Marcus Jooste. Christo Wiese was the chairman. Once South Africa's third richest man, he even tried to take $1 million in cash out the UK. That's like 14 million rand. He tried to smuggle a freaking fire pool. That's his private jet. Wow, he's like a one-man Mango airline. Marcus Jooste was the CEO of Steinhoff. He was worth like 5.5 billion. Shame. He had like zillions of properties all over the world. He was loaded. He was the second biggest owner of racehorses in the country. The second only to the horse god of Lesotho. Google it. These guys were killing it. The share price of Steinhoff grew 300% in like 5 years. That is the amount of showers Helen Zille missed during the drought. Seriously, nobody smelt there was a rat at the heart of Steinhoff. A rat dressed in cheap rat clothes, who had cheap rat furniture that kept in his cheap rat renovated Bantry Bay apartment.
I think to a large extent, the success story of that share price just keeping increasing and the auditors keeping signing off the books, to a large extent that made a lot of other people not ask too many difficult questions.
It was only when the German authorities started questioning dealings that Steinhoff's accounting firms started to finally do their bloody jobs, which led to Jooste abandoning ship, just like going, like the cheaply dressed rat that he is. Quicker than Mampela abandoning the DA. It turns out that Marcus Jooste had a black belt in what is called related party transactions. Marcus, room divider Jooste, was doing what they call double dealing, front running and ice cream dipping in Wall Street slang. For example, Steinhoff rented and later bought a forest in Knysna. Yes, forest renting. It's a thing. Where do you rent a forest? I hear you ask. Gumtree, that's where. That was the best forest renting joke you have ever heard. And who did Steinhoff rent the forest from? It turns out they rented it from Marcus Jooste. Basically, Marcus Jooste rented a forest from himself. He charged himself a fortune too, so the last person to screw themselves this hard was Malusi Gigaba. Boom! Jooste repeated this again and again across the Steinhoff's diverse interests. Imagine you want to buy a couch. So your uncle says to you, hey, I know a guy. And then when you go to buy the couch, there's your uncle. There's that same uncle in a disguise trying to sell you his couch at 5 times the price. That's what Marcus Jooste did. He's your evil uncle in the furniture business. It cost him 3 billion rands in share value to walk away from Steinhoff. I mean, who walks away from 3 billion rands? The only time you walk away from 3 billion rands is if you're doing a heist and the money is covered in paint.
If you are an individual that loses 3 billion rand overnight, surely you would want answers as well. You would want to get to the bottom of what happened in this process.
At the time of the crash, Jooste himself admitted, I've made some big mistakes. It's time for me to move on and take the consequences of my behavior like a man. But since then, he's abdicated responsibility and refuses to account for his actions, which if you ask any woman is exactly what taking it like a man usually means. Hashtag puppet feminist.
I don't blame anybody for what happened at Steinhoff. That was not what it was about. I really tried my best to share with this honorable committees all the facts.
You're coming across almost like you're a Mother Teresa of Steinhoff, right?
The Mother Teresa of Steinhoff. Really? That's a scary image, man. That's a very scary image. We should do that all the freaking time. We should have like the Mother Teresa of Lutuli House, or you're the Mother Teresa of Nazi-flavored racists. He was so bad, even the politicians compared Jooste to Jacob Zuma.
I think there's a term in this parliament, we call it meanders.
I'm answering you. You come with meanders, I answer with meanders. Easy.
And quite frankly, that's what we're doing.
The problem is white-collar criminals try to bamboozle us with accounting terminology because they believe that morally they're doing something that is not exactly the same as what happened at Eskom, Transnet and VBS.
But within the corporate sector, we tend to sort of frame the narratives in very, very glorious terms, something like an accounting irregularity. So I think in South Africa, we still struggle to sort of identify exactly what makes up corruption within the private sector, simply because the people that play within that space are so very gifted at sort of crafting narratives in a certain way, which suddenly makes us think that, oh, actually, it's not corruption. It's something far less important. It's something far less dangerous.
I know a lot of you are asking, but so what if some rich people lose some money? You see, Steinhoff did have actual consequences. Christo Wieste himself lost 59 billion rands. Holy cow, which is a terrible thing because he had to downgrade from a super ultra luxury private jet to just a luxury jet.
When did the chair who is suing, like Christo Wieste who is suing Steinhoff now, become aware of all these shenanigans that led to the collapse of Steinhoff?
Now Wieste is suing Steinhoff. He is suing the company he was the chairman of. Holy cow. That is like a cop offering himself a cold drink. The trouble at Steinhoff was that the people meant to be asking the questions didn't. I'm not scared of saying this because Marcus Jooste is a big fan of puppets, or as they called them at Steinhoff, board members. This isn't about race, but white privilege is when you get to lose 200 billion and nobody is in jail. What the hell is going on in this country? Come on, man. It should be called Stellenbosch. The real victims here are, of course, the PIC. I don't mean puppet-in-chief. I mean the Public Investment Corporation that looks after civil servants' pensions. Our civil servants lost close to 20 billion of retirement funds.
And it's not only Steinhoff, they've invested in Eskom. The same situation is happening there. So these people are just they're like Father Christmas. They're just throwing money around because it's not their money.
And yet there he is, with a straight face, and somehow he still knows nothing. He's like the Gigaba of Bradlow's. So today, South Africa, we're inducting Marcus 3-seater couch Jooste into the Corruption Hall of Fame. He's going straight to the top. He outdid Hansi Cronje, Shabir Sheikh, Alan Busak, Tony Ngani, Tom Moyani, Brian Molefe, Jacob Zuma. He even outdid the Guptas. Combined, it took the Guptas 10 years to steal what Steinhoff lost in 2 days. If corruption was a sport, Marcus Jooste would be Bafana Bafana. Marcus Jooste lost South Africa so much money. He's basically an SAA turnaround strategy. In fact, henceforth, on Almost News with Chester Missing, we will be awarding a notable acts of outstanding corruption with the Jooste. Dodgy Africans everywhere, we salute you, Marcus!